I purchased a $2 million beachfront home along the Atlantic coast, yearning for serenity and solitude. However, the moment my son-in-law learned about it, he phoned me. "We're heading your way now. There'll be 10 of us. Get ready with beds, towels, slippers, and meals. We'll stay for 2 weeks. We'll arrive in 30 minutes. So get moving." Old-timer. His boldness surged like a fierce coastal gale. Yet I grinned and devised a scheme that would flip the situation entirely. Before we proceed, kindly subscribe to this channel and comment below with the current time and your location. The sharp ring of the phone pierced the calm afternoon quiet like shattering glass on pavement. I placed down the delicate wine glass I had been unpacking and grabbed my mobile, anticipating maybe a celebratory message from a former coworker. Through the expansive kitchen windows, the Atlantic Ocean extended in vast azure hues, with waves crashing onto the secluded shore beneath my new residence. "Hello, old-timer. We're en route to you already." Daniel's tone struck my ear like a heavy blow. No hello, no niceties, just raw, unfiltered presumption. 10 of us in total. So arrange beds, towels, slippers, food, everything. We'll remain for 2 weeks. We'll get there in 30 minutes. So hurry along. My grip tightened on the device. 35 years of engineering labor, prudent investments, postponed pleasures, all culminating in this instant of tranquility in my ideal dwelling. Unopened crates still littered the granite surfaces, wrapping materials strewn over areas I hadn't fully possessed yet. "Daniel, hold on. I haven't settled in completely. The place isn't prepared for listen. I couldn't care less about your current setup." His words held that well-known air of indifferent rejection, as though my worries were insignificant static. "You have wealth, which implies you have room. That's it." The sea wind through the open terrace doors brought scents of brine and liberty, but Daniel's statements tainted the atmosphere. I clutched the stone countertop with my unoccupied hand, observing my knuckles pale against the deep material. "But Daniel, this is my initial week here. Boxes are scattered everywhere. No adequate sleeping arrangements for visitors. Sort it out, elderly one. You're in retirement, aren't you?" "What else occupies your time?" Vehicle motors roared in the call's background. Olivia's already gathered the children's items. Tom and Lauren are joining with their group as well. It'll resemble a grand family get-together. Family get-together. Those terms twisted in my torso like a corroded blade. After all I'd provided, all I'd sacrificed. This was his view of our bond, a unidirectional path, lined with my benevolence and his presumptions. I require time to organize correctly. Perhaps next month, when next month Daniel's chuckle was piercing, derisive. "We're driving already. William, committed fully. You wouldn't wish to let down the youngsters, would you?" Olivia's been describing Uncle William's luxurious seaside home to them for days. Uncle William, not Grandpa William. Not simply William. Uncle, as if I were a remote kin bound to offer amusement at his whim. The device felt slick in my perspiring grasp. "Daniel, kindly be sensible. 2 weeks is considerable. And with 10 individuals, cease the theatrics. Kin aids kin. Recall you instilled that in me." His tone bore a conceit that churned my gut. "Moreover, what's the value of possessing such fortune if you don't distribute it among those who count?" Those who count. I shut my eyes, envisioning Sophia's visage in my thoughts. My daughter, his late spouse, the link between us that demise had severed 4 years prior. What would she opine on this exchange? What would she utter regarding her husband's demeanor, his requirements, his utter neglect for fundamental politeness? Just ensure all is set upon our arrival. We're carrying beverages, so clear space in your refrigerator. Oh, and Olivia desires the primary bedroom. It offers the finest sea vista. Correct, we'll occupy that. My primary bedroom, the haven I'd envisioned for years, with its exclusive veranda overlooking the boundless Atlantic. The chamber where I'd intended to finally unwind, to savor the rewards of 3.5 decades of prudent existence and calculated concessions. The primary bedroom is ideal. See you in 25 minutes now. Don't leave us waiting outdoors. The connection ended. I remained still in my illuminated kitchen, clutching the mute phone like proof of an offense. Through the panes, seabirds soared above the surf, their calls blending with the far-off roar of waves. This was meant to be my haven, my prize for a life of prioritizing others. My palms still quivered faintly as I set down the phone. 25 minutes, 10 people, 2 weeks. The wine glass I'd been revealing captured the afternoon glow, casting colorful designs across the stone. Such a fragile object, lovely and vulnerable, akin to the tranquility I'd believed I'd at last secured. The phone dropped from my numb digits onto the stone surface with a gentle tap. My limbs felt unstable as I proceeded to the lounge, beyond walls yet bare of the paintings I'd meticulously gathered through the years. All awaited in containers, my existence in transition between history and what I'd hoped would be a serene future. Sophia's picture beamed at me from the fireplace ledge, the sole item I'd unpacked initially, craving her essence in this fresh environment. I lifted the silver casing with unsteady hands, examining her kind hazel eyes, the soft arc of her grin. 4 years since malignancy claimed her. Yet the pain lingered vivid. Dad. Daniel's truly seeking employment. Her words resounded in my recollection. Could you assist us merely this time? Merely this time. Those 4 words had evolved into the melody of my connection with Daniel Thompson. I sank into the leather armchair I'd arranged to overlook the ocean. Sophia's picture rested in my lap. The afternoon rays poured through the openings, but my thoughts wandered to gloomier periods. The initial crisis emerged 5 months post their nuptials. Daniel's venture firm had collapsed, leaving him jobless with accumulating charge card obligations. $15,000 I wired from my pension funds, seeing my meticulously planned monetary schedule advance by 5 months. "You're incredibly kind, Dad," Sophia had murmured during supper that evening. "Daniel values all, even if he doesn't consistently display it." But Daniel never displayed it. Not when I funded his graduate business degree, $40,000 across 18 months. Not when I handled their home loan initial payment since his credit rating couldn't obtain favorable terms. $50,000 that occasion, funds I designated for my own aspiration residence reserve. I passed my fingers through my silver hair, recollecting the emerging pattern. Every several months, another predicament. Sophia's healthcare costs amid her cancer therapy were valid. $80,000 I'd willingly contributed to battle for her existence. But even then, Daniel had somehow centered it on himself, grumbling about the pressure impacting his work output. The sea surges pounded steadily below, but I perceived instead Daniel's voice at Sophia's memorial gathering. "At least now we won't face those healthcare debts looming over us." My stomach had flipped that day, observing him mingle with grievers while I stood near my daughter's coffin. Even sorrow, it appeared, was merely another chance for Daniel to prioritize his own ease. Following Sophia's passing, I'd anticipated the pleas to cease. Certainly Daniel would establish stability, construct his own security. Instead, they amplified. Vehicle fixes when his guarantee lapsed. Real estate levies he'd overlooked in budgeting. Olivia's betrothal band enhancement because she merited something exceptional. I maintained a mental count, though I attempted not to. 250,000 over 5 years, sufficient to acquire a respectable dwelling in many U.S. towns. Enough to guarantee a cozy retirement sans the fiscal worry that still roused me at 2 a.m. Despite my diligent preparation. Rising gradually, I positioned Sophia's picture back on the ledge and proceeded to my office. The sea panorama from this space had convinced me to buy the property. Infinite blue reaching the skyline, vowing calm and area to reflect. Instead, my image gazed back from the pane. An elder gentleman who devoted 35 years constructing others' visions, while his own accumulated dust. The harshest aspect wasn't the funds. Funds could be acquired anew, conserved anew, administered more cautiously. The harshest was the steady decay of esteem, the gradual shift from benevolent father-in-law to anticipated cash dispenser. Daniel's manner had altered over the years from appreciative to presumptuous, from soliciting to insisting. Today's call solidified all. No consideration of my situation, my necessities, my intentions. Just supposition and insistences cloaked in the slim facade of kin duty. 10 individuals descending upon my refuge like pests devouring what I'd built over decades. My fingers tapped against the window ledge as fury mounted in my chest. A gradual, scorching warmth I'd restrained for too long. Sophia had always urged me to be tolerant with Daniel, to recall that individuals express affection diversely. But Sophia was departed, and Daniel's form of affection resembled exploitation suspiciously. The noise of automobile engines afar drew me from my musings, subtle but intensifying, several vehicles nearing via the curving seaside path leading to my residence. My 25 minutes of calm had dissipated quicker than dawn mist. I glanced at my timepiece. 2:45 p.m. Daniel had arrived swiftly. Through the office pane, I observed dust plumes ascending from the exclusive road linking my estate to the primary thoroughfare. 3 vehicles, perhaps 4, advancing in formation like an assault team nearing subdued land. My mandible tightened as I observed their approach. This wasn't a kin visit. This was an encirclement. Car doors banged in quick sequence, the echoes rebounding off the residence's stone exterior like gunfire. I shifted from the office pane to the entrance, observing through the side panels as 3 vehicles discharged their occupants into my rounded driveway. Daniel's dark SUV headed the procession, trailed by a sedan and a truck filled with ice chests, shore gear, and sufficient baggage for a 3-week journey. 10 people. Daniel hadn't overstated. The front entrance felt firm under my palm as I grasped the knob, bracing for the impending. Through the ornate glass, I saw Daniel exit his SUV like a commander inspecting captured ground. Stylish shades despite the afternoon shade. That haughty gait I'd come to loathe over the years. Olivia emerged from the rider's side, golden locks fluttering in the sea breeze, promptly extracting her phone to capture all. Oh, wow. Everyone. Behold this spot. Her words carried distinctly across the drive. It's akin to a luxury retreat. I opened the entrance before they could press the bell, aiming to retain some control over the circumstance. The aspiration faded instantly. Hey there, old-timer. How's our unexpected arrival suiting you? Daniel shoved past into the entryway sans awaiting approval, his gaze already surveying the interior as if inventorying. Olivia, check this out. There's the jacuzzi I mentioned. Daniel, I informed you via phone that I'm unprepared for company. But my statements vanished in the turmoil as the remainder of the assembly flowed through my front entrance. A gentleman I identified as Tom, Daniel's university dorm mate, emitted a soft whistle, Guys loaded seriously. Why not distribute with kin? Huh, Lauren? Olivia's sibling, pushed in, toting two large valises. This location is utterly ideal for our getaway. The children will adore that swimming area. She motioned toward my endless pool visible via the rear panes. Children. I hadn't heard mention of youngsters on the call. Quit the drama. William. Daniel had reached the lounge already, his damp footwear leaving gritty marks on my brought-in Spanish stone. Kin assists kin. You taught that. Remember, more individuals surged in, countenances I didn't know, mingling with others I'd encountered at Sophia's memorial. Jason, another's partner, hauled an ice chest of drinks like arriving at a university bash. Two ladies I'd never encountered were already debating room allocations, as if I weren't present. "Pardon me," I shouted, my voice scarcely heard over the rising clamor. "Might everyone kindly, oh wow, you all must view this cooking space." Olivia had found the premium culinary area I'd designed over months. She raised her device, broadcasting live to her online audience. "We're residing at my father-in-law's amazing shore dwelling. Observe this panorama." Father-in-law. The label grated like abrasive in my ears. Daniel had never termed me dad, even during Sophia's life. Always William, always preserving that separation. But Olivia asserted the kin tie when it fit her aims. Someone had located my audio setup and saturated the dwelling with pulsing tunes. Sacks and ice chests materialized everywhere, deposited in the entry, piled against my immaculate walls, staking claims throughout my refuge like boundary indicators. "Daniel, we must discuss this." "Later." Elderly one. "Presently. We need to settle everyone." He advanced toward the corridor to the sleeping quarters, a procession of unknowns trailing him. "Olivia and I will claim the main suite. Clearly. Tom and Tracy can take the visitor chamber with the sea outlook. Lauren, you and Jason grab the one with the veranda." I positioned myself before him, obstructing entry to the sleeping area. "The main bedroom is restricted. That's my personal domain." Daniel's chuckle was keen and belittling. He laid a hand on my shoulder, not warmly, but with the offhand superiority of relocating a barrier. "Come on. William, don't be greedy. We traveled 3 hours here. Olivia particularly wants the chamber with the superior view for her dawn exercise recordings." The bodily contact seemed like an infringement. I retreated, but Daniel merely thrust past, guiding his followers down the passageway I'd traversed solo for just 1 week. My passageway and my dwelling, acquired with my funds and my aspirations. "This is flawless," Olivia's voice resounded from my chamber. "The illumination here is fantastic for material production." Material production. My main suite was turning into scenery for online posts. In the lounge, Tom had accessed his drink cooler and was handing out beverages, sans seeking approval. Lauren was reorganizing my furnishings for improved chatting zones. Someone's youngster. I hadn't noticed their entry. Was dashing around the pool area in moist swim attire, leaving dark imprints on the slate I'd expended a wealth importing from Italy. The overrun was total. In under 5 minutes, my serene residence had morphed into a bustling holiday lease. My meticulous order ruined by the nonchalant disorder of presumptuous visitors who viewed my kindness as their entitlement. I stood in my own entry, sensing like an outsider, watching individuals I scarcely knew assert possession over areas I'd fantasized about for decades. The sea panorama through my panes stayed lovely, but it now bordered a vista of seizure rather than calm. Daniel reappeared from my chamber, smiling with contentment. "This will be the finest 2 weeks yet. Olivia's already organizing a welcome gathering for tomorrow evening." "Hope that's fine." She welcomed a few additional folks from her fitness class. A few additional folks. My jaw locked so firmly I feared my teeth might fracture. This wasn't a kin visit. This was an adversarial acquisition, and I was being relegated from proprietor to unpaid employee in my own paradise. Olivia exited my main washroom as if she possessed the space. A pale cloth enveloped her damp tresses, water drops tracing a path across my brought-in stone floors. She carried her stylish luggage with relaxed assurance, already plotting where to position her items in my private haven. Pardon me. I stationed myself solidly in the chamber doorway, arms folded. This space is forbidden. She halted, truly astonished by the opposition. Oh, come now. Will, we discussed this. The lighting here is ideal for my morning routine clips. No. The term emerged sterner than planned. All must depart now. Olivia's green eyes expanded with rehearsed purity. She moved her luggage to one hand and set the other on her waist, a stance I knew from her online images. Will, dear, we're kin. Why so antagonistic behind her? Daniel materialized in the corridor, attracted by the unforeseen clash. His look darkened upon seeing me blocking what he'd already staked as his domain. William, step aside. We've journeyed for hours. This is my dwelling. I held firm, my voice strengthening with each utterance. I demand all of you exit at once. Daniel's laugh was acute and scornful. Your dwelling truly forgot all you owe our kin. He advanced nearer, encroaching my personal zone with deliberate menace. Forgot who the actual sufferer is, the actual sufferer. After 250,000, after 5 years of continual monetary drain, after granting him my daughter's legacy and my own pension safety, I was somehow the obligor in his distorted ledger. I owe you naught. My hands trembled, but not from dread, from pent-up fury amassed over years. This dialogue concludes. Olivia attempted to slip past with her luggage, presuming my defiance was just showy. I adjusted to fully obstruct her, and she staggered rearward with a gasp of authentic surprise. Will, that's incredibly impolite. The uproar attracted others from across the dwelling. Tom appeared with a drink in grasp, Jason nearby, toting shorecloths like prizes. Lauren emerged from the visitor washroom, her cosmetics partially done. Someone lowered the tunes, and abruptly the whole assembly observed our impasse. Guy, what's your issue? Tom's voice held the casual haughtiness of one used to prevailing. We're not damaging anything. You're intruding. I surveyed their faces, noting entitled bewilderment where shame should reside. Every one of you. Daniel laid his hand on my shoulder with condescending familiarity. Sophia would be mortified by your selfishness. Old-timer. That touch. Uninvited. Arrogant. Meant to belittle me. Ignited something essential. I yanked away from his contact with sufficient vigor to cause him to falter back. Don't dare contact me. My voice bore a timbre I'd never employed, one that prompted several to retreat instinctively. And don't ever employ my daughter's name to rationalize your avarice. Olivia's lower lip started quivering in a display I'd witnessed numerous times when desiring something costly. Papa Will, we merely wished to spend moments with you. We believed you'd delight in sharing your splendid home with kin. Papa Will. The moniker made my flesh creep. This lady who'd wed my daughter's widower, who'd relocated into the residence I'd aided equip, who'd donned Sophia's adornments at their ceremony. She thought affections would erase the boldness of her overrun. Delight. I surveyed the disorder they'd generated in 20 minutes. You expect me to delight in unknowns claiming my chamber, pillaging my kitchen, handling my home like your private resort. We're not unknowns, Lauren objected. though I couldn't recall encountering her prior. We're Daniel's companions. That renders us virtually kin. Virtually kin. The expression that evidently bestowed limitless entry to my existence, my assets, my serenity. Daniel detected the atmosphere changing and sought to reclaim command. See, William, I comprehend you're swamped. Relocating is tense. But we're present now. We've arranged, and sending us away would generate major issues for all. The warning was subtle, yet clear. Major issues for whom? For his companions, who'd traveled 3 hours anticipating a complimentary holiday, for Olivia, who'd vowed her online followers unique material from a deluxe residence, for Daniel, who'd depicted himself as the benevolent kin member granting his friends access to his affluent father-in-law's estate. The sole issue, I stated, my voice stable despite the rush pulsing through me, is 10 people who believe they can inhabit another's home sans approval. Sans approval. Daniel's facade of sensibility ultimately slipped. After all this kin has endured, after all you've imposed on us with your insistences and anticipations, all I'd imposed on them, 5 years of issuing payments, covering crises, facilitating their way of life, and somehow I was the one insisting. Jason advanced, his drink-scented assurance filling the corridor. Listen, Gramps, perhaps you should relax. We'll tidy after ourselves. No damage, no offense. Gramps, another offhand diminishment from an unknown sipping my drink in my corridor. The assembly was uniting now, their postures shifting from remorseful to protective. 10 against 1 in my own abode. They'd spent their whole journey here, assuming I'd yield, planning their 2-week holiday around my anticipated concession. Daniel approached nearer again, his voice lowering to the timbre he'd always used for delivering final words. Consider your next action carefully. William, certain choices can't be reversed. Certain bonds can't be mended once fractured. There it was, the bare warning cloaked in worry for kin unity. Oppose us and forfeit us eternally. As if their existence in my life was a boon rather than a load I'd borne too long. I surveyed their faces, presumptuous, expectant, already plotting how to twist this tale to cast me as the antagonist. In their views, I was the irrational wealthy kin who'd forgotten his role in their need hierarchy. But standing in my own corridor, guarding my own chamber door, I at last grasped something vital. Some bonds were already severed. Some had never been authentic initially. The query wasn't if I could afford to lose them. The query was if I could afford to retain them. Daniel's warning lingered in the atmosphere like fumes from a dwelling blaze, poisonous and unavoidable. 10 faces gazed at me with diverse levels of animosity and perplexity, awaiting my submission. They'd journeyed 3 hours expecting obedience, not resistance. You're correct on one matter, I uttered, retreating from the chamber doorway. Certain choices can't be reversed. I pivoted and walked purposefully toward my office, retrieving my phone from my pocket. Behind me, Olivia's voice ascended in dramatic despair. Where are you heading? We must discuss this maturely. Maturely. From a lady who'd spent the past hour photographing herself in my washroom for online material, finally regaining sense, I overheard Daniel murmur to Tom, likely contacting his attorney to alter his testament or something similarly exaggerated. The office door felt sturdy and comforting as I shut it behind me, engaging the lock with a gratifying snap. This space was my haven, wall-to-wall bookcases, my technical volumes, the large walnut desk where I'd orchestrated my pension finances. Through the pain, the Atlantic extended boundlessly. Apathetic to human turmoil, I dialed emergency services. What's your crisis? The dispatcher's expert composure steadied my nerves. I require law enforcement aid. There are individuals in my dwelling who decline to depart when requested. Sir, are you in imminent bodily peril beyond the office door? I could detect hushed murmurs and footfall sounds. They were assembling, plotting their next tactic. Not presently, but they're refusing to exit my estate after repeated instructions. Can you confirm this is your lawful home? Sir, yes, I'm the proprietor. Acquired last month. I can supply proof. The ownership documents resided in my desk compartment. Formal evidence of possession that suddenly felt invaluable. Intense rapping erupted on the office door. William Daniels' voice bore compelled cheer. Emerge now. Let's converse sensibly. Sir, how many persons are implicated? The dispatcher's inquiries adhered to routine procedure, each reinforcing my lawful position here. 10 individuals. They arrived unbidden about 60 minutes ago and are declining to depart despite numerous pleas. The rapping strengthened. Olivia's voice merged with Daniel's, elevated and falsely sweet. Papa will. Please avoid anything rash. We can resolve this. Officers are en route to your site. Can you stay in a secure zone until they reach? Yes. I'm in my office with the door secured. The alleviation in my tone surprised me. After 60 minutes of feeling outnumbered and dismissed, someone finally validated my concerns. Approximate arrival is 10 to 15 minutes. Remain connected if you sense unsafe. Through the door, I could hear the group's whispered meeting growing restless. Someone, Lauren I believed, proposed they should depart before escalation. But Daniel's voice sliced through the doubt with his typical conceit. He's pretending. William lacks the resolve for this. He'll emerge in 4 minutes and express regret. The resolve. After 35 years of technical work, after forging a career that sustained all around me, after forfeiting my own aspirations repeatedly for others' comfort. He doubted my resolve. Thank you, dispatcher. Law enforcement is approaching. I concluded the call and reclined in my leather seat, feeling more composed than all day. The pounding on the door rose from rapping to earnest hammering. Unlock this door immediately. Daniel's veneer of politeness had vanished entirely. This is kin affair, not police concern. But it wasn't kin affair. Kin doesn't overrun. Kin doesn't disregard explicit limits. Kin doesn't menace outcomes when their exploitation is contested. William, please. Olivia's voice fractured with what might have been authentic feeling. How can you inflict this on us? We relied on you. They relied on me to grant boundless access to my resources, to absorb their issues sans complaint, to stay thankful for the honor of being utilized. Tom's voice joined the chorus outside. Guy, this is mad. We're merely attempting a holiday at my cost in my dwelling sans my agreement. The casual presumption in his tone crystallized all wrong with this scenario. Through the office pane, I observed seabirds circle over the waves, liberated and unbound. For 35 years, I'd been the supplier, the issue resolver, the dependable source of answers for others' crises. When had I become the villain for desiring peace in my own abode? The hammering on the door peaked, then abruptly halted. Urgent whispers supplanted the pounding. They'd realized their strategic mistake. Issuing threats and demands while I summoned police wasn't bolstering their stance. William, Daniel's voice had transitioned to injured purity. We merely wish to comprehend what's amiss. Why so furious with us? What's amiss? 5 years of monetary exploitation, 60 minutes of home overrun, 10 unknowns claiming my chamber, consuming my drinks, organizing my social schedule. The query itself demonstrated how little he grasped about fundamental human decency. My phone vibrated with text communications. Daniel had evidently opted for simultaneous pressure efforts. Sophia would desire us united as kin. You're ruining bonds that can't be reconstructed. Contemplate what you're doing to blameless individuals who just wished moments with you. Blameless individuals. I erased the communications, sans reading further. Footsteps retreated from the door as the group withdrew to scheme their next action. Through the slim walls, I could detect heated disputes. Some desired immediate departure. Others insisted on holding position. Olivia was weeping again, but this time it sounded less staged. 10 minutes. Law enforcement would arrive in 10 minutes, and this ordeal would conclude. I'd spent decades evading clash, easing problems, issuing payments to dispel difficulties. Today, for the initial time, I'd summoned aid instead of yielding. The feeling was both frightening and emancipating. Outside, vehicle motors ignited. Some of the assembly was minimizing losses, reluctant to confront police inquiry about their holiday intentions. But heavier footfalls lingered in the corridor. Daniel and his central allies weren't withdrawing. The sound of alarms afar made my pulse quicken with expectation rather than alarm. Assistance was arriving. The alarms intensified, slicing the afternoon air like verdict day nearing. Beyond my office door, the urgent whispers turned to alarmed strategy meetings. Footsteps dispersed in various directions as reality finally breached their bubble of presumption. Everyone, remain composed. Daniel's voice bore compelled authority, but I could sense the tension beneath. Let me manage this. It's merely a misconception. A misconception. 10 uninvited visitors refusing to exit someone's dwelling wasn't a misconception. It was intrusion. But Daniel's whole perspective necessitated portraying himself as the rational side in every dispute. The doorbell sounded with formal authority. Not the casual tap of casual callers, but the prolonged expert press of law enforcement. Through my office walls, I heard the rush of people attempting to seem relaxed, removing drink containers and concealing proof of their overrun. I disengaged my office door and emerged to discover the group positioned in the lounge like hosting a mediation. Daniel had stationed himself near the front entrance, ready to direct the story. Olivia sat on my couch with reddened eyes, gripping tissues like stage items. Good afternoon, officers. Daniel opened the entrance with rehearsed allure. I'm afraid there's been a kin misunderstanding. My father-in-law appears to be experiencing some sort of episode. An episode. Of course, I was the issue, not the 10 people who'd overrun my dwelling. 2 officers entered, a veteran man with silvered hair who presented himself as Officer Davis, and a junior woman, Officer Ramirez. Their arrival instantly altered the room's energy. Abruptly, Daniel's bravado seemed strained. Olivia's tears appeared performed, and the group's casual appropriation of my space felt evidently improper. Sir, are you the proprietor who reported intrusion? Officer Davis addressed me straight, his tone expert yet understanding. Yes, I'm William Harris. This is my estate. I retrieved the deed from my office, hands firm despite the rush. These individuals arrived sans invitation and declined to depart. Officer Ramirez surveyed the space, noting the dispersed baggage, empty drink vessels, and overall disorder. How many persons are involved? 10 upon arrival. Some might have departed upon hearing the alarms. Daniel advanced with his most rational look. Officers, this is obviously a kin disagreement. William's been stressed since relocating, and I think he's just overwhelmed by company. Sir, Kin relation doesn't supersede property entitlements, Officer Davis responded. Inspecting my deed, the proprietor holds the legal power to decide who remains on his estate. The straightforward declaration impacted the room like a tangible strike. For the first time that day, an authority figure had affirmed what I'd been stating. This was my dwelling and my choice. Olivia appeared truly stunned. But we're kin. Doesn't that signify anything? Officer Ramirez's look stayed impartial. Ma'am, kin status doesn't provide automatic entry to another's estate sans approval. Approval. Daniel's voice elevated despite his effort to remain managed. He's been organizing this residence as a kin assembly spot for months. We just presumed. You presumed incorrectly. Officer Davis interrupted him. Mr. Harris, do you desire these persons removed from your estate? The query suspended in the air like a blade poised to descend. 10 faces stared at me, some irate, some imploring, all finally comprehending that their presumptions had been legally insignificant. Yes, I stated distinctly. I want them all to depart immediately. The words felt like lifting a burden I'd carried for years. No elaboration, no rationale, no regret for establishing basic limits in my own abode. Officer Ramirez addressed the assembly. You have 10 minutes to collect your items and evacuate the premises. Anyone lingering after will be detained for intrusion. The rush commenced at once. Tom and Jason moved quickest, seizing their drink cooler and uttering regrets as they headed for the exit. Lauren cast blaming glances at Daniel while cramming garments into her valise. Several individuals I scarcely recognized simply escaped sans farewell. This is absurd, Daniel protested as he watched his command crumble. We traveled 3 hours. You arranged sans consulting the estate owner, Officer Davis replied. That's not a lawful booking, sir. Olivia was gathering her belongings from my main chamber, her actions sharp with ire. William, you'll rue this choice forever. But I felt no rue, only relief. Watching unknowns remove their possessions from my private areas felt like reclaiming pilfered ground. Daniel made one ultimate manipulation attempt as he loaded his SUV. Sophia would be ashamed of what you've turned into. Old-timer, self-centered and resentful. Officer Davis positioned between us. Sir, you must depart now. Any additional contact with Mr. Harris could be deemed harassment. The final vehicle exited my driveway as the sun neared the horizon, tinting my residence in amber glow. Officer Ramirez finished her documentation while Officer Davis clarified the recording process. You'll receive a formal incident number for your files. If they return sans approval, contact us promptly. Today's event establishes a clear intrusion pattern. After the officers departed, I stood solitary in my entry, enveloped by welcome quiet. The turmoil was gone. Scattered drink vessels, gritty footprints, the echo of presumptuous voices staking my spaces. My phone vibrated with angry texts, but I deactivated it sans reading them. For the first time in 5 years, I'd said no sans apologizing. I'd summoned aid instead of enduring quietly. I'd chosen my own calm over their convenience. The sea waves pounded rhythmically beyond my pains, cleansing the shore with each surge. Tomorrow would bring fresh challenges, furious calls, online drives, kin selecting sides. But tonight, my dwelling was mine again, and that felt like the start of something resembling liberty profoundly. The lock engaged with conclusiveness as I watched the last police vehicle vanish down the seaside path, its rear lights dimming into the emerging twilight. The event report crumpled in my hold. Formal proof that I'd been correct, that my home was mine to govern. Yet standing in my vacant entry, I felt oddly empty instead of victorious. Quiet pressed against my hearing after hours of disorder. No disputing tones, no steps on my stone floors, no tunes leaking from chambers I'd never authorized occupation. Just the distant surge crash and the soft buzz of my cooling system. Sounds I'd dreamed of savoring in peace. I walked through my residence like an investigator at a violation scene, listing the overrun evidence. Drink cans grouped on my stone counters. Damp cloth marks darkened my timber floors, and furnishings sat askew where unknowns had reorganized my careful layout. In the visitor washroom, Olivia's cosmetics still marred my stone vanity, foundation streaks like domain claims. The main bedroom felt breached in ways past physical. Someone had shifted Sophia's picture from my bedside, toppled during their staking of my personal domain. I lifted the silver casing, studying my daughter's kind face through fractured glass. Be compassionate to Daniel. Dad. Her voice resounded in my memory. He's suffering too. But Sophia had never requested I be a pushover. She'd asked for compassion, not endless monetary sacrifice. Standing in my chamber, where unknowns had planned to rest for 2 weeks, I finally discerned the distinction. My phone buzzed persistently from the kitchen counter, where I'd left it during the clash. The display showed 14 missed calls and 36 text messages, all from the same sender. Daniel Thompson. I read them in sequence, observing his tone shift from hurt perplexity to bare menace. William, we need to discuss today's events. You humiliated my spouse before our companions. That's unacceptable. Kin doesn't summon police on kin. Sophia would be repulsed. You believe you triumphed today. You lack awareness of what's approaching. By tomorrow, all will know your true nature. Savor your vacant dwelling. Old-timer, it's all you'll possess. The messages persisted, each gloomier than prior. Daniel's facade had slipped utterly, revealing the manipulative essence I'd been too benevolent to admit for 5 years. But now, with formal proof of his intrusion and menacing texts amassing on my device, his authentic character was generating its own proof path. I poured myself 2 ounces of whiskey and settled into my leather armchair, the one placed for the perfect sea view. Outside, dusk painted the Atlantic in tones of amber and scarlet, the daily artwork I'd acquired this residence to appreciate. Yet Daniel's menaces cast shadows across even this splendor. Had I been overly severe, the query gnawed despite the lawful affirmation. They were kin, however broken. Sophia's companions, her selected bonds, her husband's fresh existence. By summoning police, had I demolished bridges irreparable, my device buzzed again. Another message from Daniel, this one with an image. Olivia sobbing in their vehicle. Her eye makeup streaked down her cheeks in dramatic streams. See what you caused her. Satisfied now, I deleted the message, sans replying. Olivia's tears were genuine, but so was my fatigue from years of manipulation. So was my entitlement to calm in my own abode. So was the $250,000 I'd granted them, sans receiving basic politeness in return. The whiskey warmed my chest as I continued my dwelling restoration routine. Each aligned furniture piece felt like reclaiming stolen domain. Each cleansed surface erased proof of their arrogance. The physical labor aided processing the emotional quake of finally refusing. But as evening deepened into night, unease crept alongside satisfaction. Daniel's final messages carried an ominous certainty that worried me more than his earlier rage. You lack idea of what's approaching. Wasn't the frustrated menace of someone accepting defeat? It was a vow from someone plotting retaliation. I'd won the battle for my home. But something in Daniel's tone suggested the war was just beginning. Sophia's picture smiled at me from the restored bedside, her look peaceful in the lamp glow. What would she think of today's events? Would she endorse my firm stance? Or would she see only the ruin of kin harmony she'd labored to preserve? I think you'd understand. Dear, I whispered to her image, you taught me to be benevolent, not foolish. My phone lit with another alert, the screen displaying Daniel's name yet again. This time I deactivated it fully, but not before glimpsing the preview of his latest message. Tomorrow all will witness. The menace hung incomplete in the darkness, promising complications I couldn't yet envision. Whatever Daniel was scheming, it would arrive with the morning light. For tonight at least, my home was mine. But victory had never felt so delicate. Sunlight poured through my kitchen panes as I reached for my silent device to check the hour. 8:32 a.m. I'd rested poorly, Daniel's menaces echoing through uneasy dreams. The gadget felt warm in my palm, its display illuminating with a flood of notifications that sank my stomach. 39 alerts from social platforms and texts. My email displayed dozens of fresh messages from individuals I hadn't contacted in years. Something had occurred overnight. Something substantial enough to awaken my whole social circle. I accessed a social network first, promptly finding Daniel's post atop my feed. The words struck like a bodily hit. My father-in-law expelled his own kin from his dwelling yesterday. Called law enforcement on us like criminals. Wealth truly alters people. My late spouse Sophia would be devastated to see her father's transformation. We just wished to spend moments at his new estate. But apparently, we're unworthy now. Prayers required for our kin in this tough period. The post had been distributed 37 times overnight. Comments cascaded down the screen like indictments. Devastating. Can't fathom someone treating kin thus. Wealth corrupts. Poor Olivia and the youngsters. Youngsters. There had been no youngsters yesterday, but Daniel's tale was already amplifying in tragedy during retelling. Olivia had posted a video account filmed in their vehicle with reddened eyes and shaking voice. I just can't grasp how someone who once cared could turn so icy. We brought companions to introduce, to share his success, and he treated us like outsiders. Sophia used to say her dad was the most benevolent man living. I guess she never witnessed this aspect. My hands quivered as I scrolled through responses. Old neighbors from my prior home, co-workers from my technical firm, even Sophia's university friends, all voicing shock and letdown. The tale was straightforward, compelling, and utterly false. But Daniel had presented it first, claiming ethical superiority before I knew a conflict had initiated. I attempted commenting on his post, digits awkward on the compact keys. This is biased. Daniel brought 10 people to my dwelling sans invitation or approval. When requested to depart, they declined. I had full entitlement. But my comment appeared protective against Daniel's emotional pull. Within moments, replies emerged. Typical deflection. William, why justify forsaking kin 10 people sounds inflated? Daniel's reply came swiftly. Observe how he's attempting to revise history. This is precisely the manipulation Sophia used to grumble about privately. Sophia grumbling about me privately. The falsehood was so bold, so calculated that it stole my breath. But people were accepting it, distributing it, adding their own views and outrage. Lauren had distributed the post with her notes. Repulsive conduct from someone who should know better. Olivia's like a daughter to me, and seeing her handled this way sickens me. Tom added, we traveled 3 hours just for kin time. Got treated like offenders for wanting his pool. Wealthy folks' issues, I suppose. A pool gathering. That's what they termed their overrun now. A simple plea to use kin facilities. Cruelly denied by a resentful elder with more wealth than compassion. I shifted to the kitchen table, coffee cooling as I read comment upon comment. People I'd known for decades questioned my character based on Daniel's crafted sob tale. Former neighbors voiced disappointment. Sophia's friends spoke of feeling misled about my true essence. Elizabeth Wong, Sophia's closest university companion, had written, "William, I'm stunned. This doesn't resemble the man Sophia portrayed. What occurred to you?" I tried replying privately. "Elizabeth, there's far more to this tale. Daniel brought 10 people to my dwelling sans asking, claimed my main chamber, and refused to depart when I requested. The police affirmed I had full entitlement to remove them. Her response arrived within 60 minutes. I find it difficult to believe Sophia's husband would fabricate something like this. Perhaps examine your own conduct instead of accusing others." The insight struck like chill water. Daniel had armed Sophia's memory and their shared sorrow. He was the enduring widower, the dedicated spouse still mourning my daughter 4 years later. I was the affluent father-in-law who deserted him in need, selecting wealth over kin ties. Every defense attempt made me appear worse. Social platforms rewarded emotional genuineness over factual precision, and Daniel's tearful tale was calibrated for viral compassion. My dry accounts about property entitlements and legal proof sounded trivial against his heartbroken kin story. By midday, the post had been distributed 72 times. Local news outlets were adopting it as a human interest piece on kin dysfunction in affluent areas. Comment chains spawned further chains, each magnifying Daniel's version while dismissing my clarifications. I closed the computer in frustrated surrender, staring at my office wall lined with technical certificates and accomplishment awards. 35 years of professional acclaim, community involvement, charitable contributions. None mattered against one manipulative social post designed to trigger maximum emotional reaction. My university diploma hung honored, the technical degree that taught systematic issue solving and evidence-based examination. Social platforms weren't about truth or evidence. They were about story control and emotional manipulation. Skills I'd never needed to cultivate and weapons I'd never learned to handle. But engineering had taught me something precious. Every issue had a resolution if approached methodically. Daniel might have won the initial round with superior social strategy, but this conflict would ultimately be decided by facts, proof, and legal truth. I needed to cease defending on his chosen field and start constructing my own case with tools I understood: evidence, proof, and expert knowledge. The question was whether I could assemble a defense faster than his lies could propagate. I turned from the screen and faced my wall of professional feats, technical degrees, project honors, 35 years of methodical problem-solving framed and certified. Daniel might grasp social manipulation, but I grasped something more basic: how to divide complex issues into manageable parts and resolve them systematically. This was just another technical challenge. Daniel had created a structural flaw in his tale by building it on falsehoods. My task was to locate that flaw and exploit it with evidence. I opened my filing storage with deliberate accuracy, retrieving the folder marked Kin Financial Aid, a habit from my technical days of recording all. Inside, bank summaries, voided payments, transfer receipts narrated the real story in monochrome figures, spreading the papers across my desk in time order. I began computing graduate tuition payments, $40,000 over 18 months. Nuptial costs, $25,000 in 1 month. Home initial payment, $50,000 when Daniel's credit couldn't secure good rates. Sophia's medical expenses during her malignancy therapy, $80,000 in recorded payments to facilities and experts. Vehicle payments, credit bailouts, crisis loans never repaid. The sum reached $250,000 in 5 years of methodical support. Not presents given freely among peers, but an increasing pattern of insistences backed by kin guilt and Sophia's ailment. Every payment had a date, sum, and bank record. Daniel had forgotten he dealt with an engineer who recorded all for tax and legacy planning. His emotional social tale would collapse against this heap of financial proof. I picked up my device and called Robert Lawson, my legacy lawyer since Sophia's passing. We'd collaborated on my testament, trust setups, and estate acquisitions, a professional bond built on mutual esteem and careful recording. Robert, it's William Harris. I need guidance on kin financial presents that have become complex. William, pleased to hear you. What complexities do we face? My son-in-law has posted false data about me online, claiming I deserted the kin, but I have proof showing nearly $250,000 in support over 5 years. No loan pacts, no repayment plans. I treated them as presents. Now I'm pondering legal choices. Robert's pause was reflective. The difference between presents and loans can be legally important. William, sans written pacts. Debt retrieval is tough, but options exist. Harmful reliance, unfair gain. Several concepts we could explore. Do you have thorough proof bank records for all dates, sums, purposes? I can show the pattern of rising insistences and his lifestyle beyond legitimate income. Superb. This systematic exploitation might qualify under senior financial misuse laws, especially the pattern and sums. Let's meet Tuesday morning. Bring all you have. I scheduled the meeting and returned to my document review, creating a detailed chart that revealed the true extent of Daniel's financial reliance. His online posts complained of money woes, while my bank records showed steady payments sustaining his way. The contradiction was condemning. Opening Daniel's social page, I began capturing images of his financial grievances and aid requests dating years. Posts about needing funds for vehicle fixes while I paid his coverage. Complaints about costly medical debts while my accounts showed direct payments to his providers. A pattern of public poverty claims contradicted by private support. Olivia's photo platform revealed more damaging proof. Images of costly trips, stylish attire, dining at upscale venues, all funded by my provided money while they portrayed as struggling kin deserving compassion. By afternoon, I had compiled a thorough file documenting 5 years of financial manipulation, timeline of payments, captures of contradictory online posts, analysis of lifestyle costs versus stated income, evidence of methodical deception spanning years, not just yesterday's event. Daniel's social tale portrayed me as a wealthy miser deserting poor kin. My proof showed the opposite, a benevolent father-in-law systematically exploited by manipulative in-laws who'd received nearly $250,000 while posing as victims. The irony was flawless. Daniel's strength, manipulating public view through emotional appeals, had created his weakness. Every online post claiming poverty was now deception-proof. Every photo of expensive buys was evidence of fraudulent need. I organized the final document stack into a thorough file folder, labeling it D. Thompson Financial Retrieval in my precise engineer's script. This would be my opening maneuver, not defensive online responses, but offensive legal action backed by systematic proof. Placing the folder in my case for Tuesday's legal meeting, I glanced at Sophia's picture on my desk. Her gentle grin seemed endorsing, as if she understood protecting myself wasn't betraying her memory. It was honoring the methodical, careful life approach she'd always admired in me. I think you'd endorse this method, dear, I said quietly. No emotional manipulation, just facts and proof. My device rang with an unknown caller, probably another journalist seeking to discuss the kin feud becoming local news. But I had tasks, proof to finalize, legal tactics to develop. Daniel had chosen the wrong adversary, He'd initiated a fight with someone who solved issues professionally, who recorded all, who understood sustainable wins required solid bases rather than emotional manipulation. This wasn't about vengeance. This was about justice, self-protection, and ensuring systematic exploitation couldn't continue hiding behind kin loyalty claims. The game had changed, and I was finally playing to win. Monday morning dawned clear and purposeful. I sat at my office desk like a commander preparing for decisive conflict. The thorough folder labeled D. Thompson Financial Retrieval spread before me in organized precision. Coffee steamed beside Sophia's photo as I reviewed 5 years of systematic proof, bank statements, transfer records, captures of Daniel's contradictory online posts claiming poverty while living off my benevolence. At 8:15 a.m., I drove to Robert Lawson's city office, my case heavy with evidence. The lawyer had agreed to an urgent Monday consultation after I explained the pressing need. Daniel's online campaign gained momentum daily, and legal response required prompt action. "William, this documentation level is outstanding," Robert said, spreading my financial records across his oak conference table. "Most don't keep such detailed family aid records." 35 years of engineering taught me to record everything. I watched him compute totals, his brows rising with each page. I never imagined needing it for this. Robert's fingers traced the timeline of escalating demands. Graduate tuition, nuptial costs, home down payment, medical bills, multiple crisis loans, all sons signed pacts or repayment schedules. Daniel treated you like a personal vault. The pattern clarified only when I organized chronologically. I presented my analysis chart, small requests initially, always with repayment vows when things stabilized. But his lifestyle never matched legitimate income. Sans signed loan pacts. "We'll argue harmful reliance and unfair gain," Robert explained, his voice gaining professional zeal. "Your proof demonstrates systematic exploitation. This is a remarkably strong case. What are my realistic recovery chances?" Robert smiled sternly. "With this evidence, outstanding. Daniel won't anticipate this preparation. Most kin financial disputes lack proof. You've built a fact stronghold." We spent 90 minutes developing strategy. Court submission for Tuesday morning. Process service to surprise Daniel. Defamation counters based on his false online narrative. Timeline for asset inquiry and payment enforcement. At 11 a.m., I drove to my bank's primary branch, armed with Robert's letter requesting certified transaction records. The manager, Susan Patel, personally managed my sensitive request, understanding the legal implications of thorough financial proof. "Mr. Harris, these transfer sums are substantial," she noted, reviewing 5 years of electronic payments to Daniel Thompson accounts. "We'll provide certified copies with official verification for court." The final tally shocked even me. 250,000 in documented transfers, including several large payments I'd forgotten during Sophia's final months. Emergency visits, specialist fees, prescription costs, all paid directly from my accounts. While Daniel claimed financial hardship online, Susan arranged official seals and notarization for each document, creating court-worthy evidence. These records clearly established the described pattern. "Mr. Harris, the court will find them compelling." From the bank, I drove to the notary office, where every document received official certification. My sworn statement detailed Daniel's repeated repayment promises when his venture stabilized, promises that vanished as his demands grew and my daughter's illness worsened. Back home by evening, I organized the final thorough file, chronological evidence of systematic exploitation, legal proof of false vows, online captures proving deliberate deception about his financial status. Everything Daniel had forgotten about his lies. I had documented and preserved. The irony was perfect. Daniel's strength, manipulating public perception through emotional appeals, had created his weakness. Every online post claiming poverty was now fraud evidence. Every photo of expensive purchases contradicted his need claims. I placed the completed legal file in my case, setting my alarm for early courthouse arrival. This wasn't about revenge or anger anymore. This was about justice, accountability, and self-protection from future exploitation through proper channels. Looking at Sophia's photo on my desk, I spoke quietly to her gentle smile. Tomorrow I count her properly. Dear, the way you taught me, with integrity and preparation. My device buzzed with another hostile message from Daniel. Still awaiting your regret. Old-timer. Kin doesn't treat kin this way. But Daniel had no clue what approached. While he'd played online games, I'd built an impregnable legal stronghold. Engineering taught that sustainable victories need solid foundations, careful planning, methodical execution. Tomorrow would prove methodical preparation defeats impulsive manipulation. The game had changed completely, and Daniel was about to discover he'd chosen the wrong opponent. The war wasn't over. It was just beginning on my terms. Tuesday morning arrived with engineering timeline precision. I reached the courthouse at 7:30 a.m. Case loaded with proof that would transform me from public opinion defendant to law plaintiff. The filing office opened at 7:45 a.m. sharp, and I intended first position, case submission for debt retrieval and defamation, I told the clerk, sliding my thorough legal package across the counter. She examined the proof with growing professional appreciation. Robert's legal format, bank certifications, notarized statement, timeline analysis reading like forensic accounting. This is exceptionally prepared. Mr. Harris, she noted, processing payment and assigning case number. Judge Ramirez handles debt retrieval. You'll likely get accelerated hearing due to evidence quality. Process service arranged for prompt delivery to Daniel's address, while a court official drove across town to deliver papers shattering his confidence. I returned home to launch my coordinated attack's second phase. My computer waited on the kitchen table. Social page opened to Daniel's viral post about kin desertion. Time to counter his emotional manipulation with systematic facts. I crafted my response with engineering precision. No ire, no protectiveness, just professionally presented proof. I've seen concerning posts about our kin situation. Here are documented facts. I attached bank transfer captures totaling $250,000, organized chronologically with clear descriptions. These funds provided freely during tough times, but recent events changed everything. I'm pursuing legal retrieval through proper channels and addressing defamatory statements in court. The post went live at 9:15 a.m., tagged to reach every shared friend and kin who'd seen Daniel's original manipulation. Within moments, responses flooded. Shock, regrets, demands for Daniel to explain omitted financial evidence. Elizabeth Wong, Sophia's university friend, who'd questioned my character, commented immediately. William, I had no knowledge of the support. Daniel never mentioned this. I apologize for judging sans facts. Other comments followed rapidly. This alters everything. Why omit the money? Those are serious sums over 5 years. William was incredibly benevolent. I spent the morning methodically contacting witnesses, neighbors who'd seen Friday's overrun, Sophia's friends with full info, my financial advisor who'd processed large transfers, professional colleagues vouching for my character. Each conversation built another support pillar for my factual tale. At 10:45 a.m., my device rang. Daniel's name appeared. The first time he'd called, instead of texting menaces. You filed suit against me. His voice carried genuine alarm instead of usual arrogance. "William, this is kin business. We can resolve privately." "Kin business ended when you brought 10 strangers to my home and refused to leave," I replied calmly. "Kin business ended when you posted lies online to ruin my reputation. Those weren't lies. You did desert us. Daniel, I have proof of every dollar, every repayment promise, every online post claiming poverty while spending my money. The court will decide truth." Silence stretched the connection. When Daniel spoke again, his voice lost all control pretense. "What do you desire? Funds, I can repay some. The court will determine proper restitution. My lawyer handles all communication now." I ended the call and returned to my online campaign, posting captures of Daniel's menacing Friday texts alongside public reconciliation claims. The contradiction was Stark privately menacing an elder while publicly playing victim of kin desertion. Olivia called next, her voice shaking with tears, sounding genuinely terrified rather than manipulatively theatrical. "William, please. Daniel's discussing losing the home. Everything. Can't we resolve like kin, Olivia? Your husband exploited my grief over Sophia to extract nearly $250,000 systematically. He brought 10 people to my home sans permission and called police intervention kin desertion. This stopped being kin when he chose manipulation over honesty. By afternoon, the online landscape shifted completely. Daniel's original post buried under comments demanding explanation for financial evidence. Former supporters shared my proof, expressing shock at undisclosed support scale. Sophia's friends, initially backing Daniel, now apologized and questioned his honesty entirely. Daniel's online accounts silenced around 1 p.m. No responses to mounting questions. No attempts to explain financial evidence. The man dominating story control for days neutralized by simple fact presentation. Robert called at 3 p.m. with court updates. The judge reviewed your submission and Daniel's panicked response. He's requesting settlement talks through counsel. William, he knows he's defeated. This documentation level in kin financial dispute is unprecedented. Evening brought a final call from unknown number. Daniel's voice barely recognizable. The confident manipulator replaced by someone facing consequences first in years. William, I need dialogue. Can we meet? Please, the desperation complete. But meetings and discussions belong to past. When I believed kin loyalty required unlimited tolerance for exploitation. All communication through my lawyer now. Daniel, you know his contact. I hung up and walked to my deck, watching dusk paint the Atlantic in brilliant tangerines and violets. Tomorrow would bring more legal proceedings, more social vindication, more confirmation that systematic preparation defeats emotional manipulation. The war essentially over. Daniel brought online campaign to legal proof fight and discovered lie limitations when confronted with certified bank records. Justice no longer coming. It had arrived. Friday morning, I entered the courthouse with calm assurance. Robert beside carrying additional proof compiled during week. Across hallway, Daniel sat slumped beside harried public defender, his stylish shades gone. His arrogant posture collapsed into defeated resignation. The change remarkable. 4 days ago, he'd controlled narrative, commanded online sympathy, treated my home like conquered ground. Now he looked what he'd always been, beneath manipulation. A middle-aged man building lifestyle on another's benevolence, facing adult consequences first. Judge Ramirez reviewed case file methodically. Mr. Harris, your proof extraordinarily comprehensive. Mr. Thompson, your counsel indicates trial avoidance through settlement. Daniel's attorney, working limited resources and overwhelming evidence. attempted weak defense. Your Honor, my client maintains family gifts given freely during mutual grief and support. Counselor, Judge Ramirez replied, holding online captures. Your client's statements contradict. Here he claims hardship while records show systematic support from plaintiff. Here promises repayment when business stabilizes. Later claims unconditional gifts. Robert presented timeline analysis. 5 years escalating demands. Repayment promises. Lifestyle through Williams' funding while publicly claiming poverty. Pattern undeniable chronologically. Furthermore, Judge continued, defamatory online campaign attempted destroy Mr. Harris's reputation through deliberate fact omission. This constitutes unjust enrichment and defamation. Daniel's attorney requested recess for client consult. 15 minutes later, returned with proposal $120,000 restitution over 2 years, public online statement retraction, cessation all defamatory communication. Mr. Harris, Judge Ramirez asked, do you accept? I looked Daniel's defeated face, remembering Sophia's gentle voice asking compassion for Daniel. Dad, he's hurting too. But Sophia never asked pushover status. She requested kindness, not unlimited exploitation. I accept, Your Honor. Justice doesn't require destruction, just accountability. The judge recorded agreement. Daniel, 30 days begin payments or face asset seizure. Required public retraction posted all platforms spreading false narrative. Exiting courthouse. I felt Sophia's presence clearer since death. Not manipulated memory Daniel weaponized, but genuine spirit, benevolent yet wise, kind yet not naive, loving yet protective. Back at residence, I posted court decision online with dignity sans vindictiveness. Our kin legal matter resolved through proper channels. Grateful everyone's support. Forward to advancing with renewed appreciation. Honest relationships. Response overwhelming. Sophia's friends relieved, justice served. Former Daniel supporters apologized, believing incomplete info. Even some Friday companions messaged privately, admitting discomfort with overrun but silent. Daniel's required retraction appeared evening brief. Legally mandated acknowledgement previous posts contained inaccurate, incomplete info about kin situation. His online presence, once commanding, manipulative, reduced to court-ordered control. Evening brought call from nephew Alex, Sophia's cousin. Unheard months. Uncle William. Saw news everything happened. Wanted say, always wondered Daniel afforded lifestyle. Sorry you endured. Glad you stood. Thank you. Alex, you're always welcome. Visit proper invitation discussion dates work both. His laugh warm, genuine. That sounds ideal. How about next weekend? Love see new place. I checked calendar. Noting simple pleasure asked, not commanded. Consulted, not invaded. Next weekend works beautifully. I'll prepare guest room properly. As sunset painted deck golden, I sat wine glass, watched peaceful waves roll shoreward. My device silent. No menacing messages. No manipulative demands. No false kin emergencies requiring immediate financial response. The residence felt truly mine first since purchase. Not just legally through deed, but emotionally through boundaries established, maintained. My benevolence not destroyed by limits. Refined. Focused mutual respect, relationships, not exploitation. Sophia's photo smiled side table. I raised wine glass, her gentle image. Think you'd approve, dear? Learned difference, benevolent, taken advantage. The sea waves washed shore clean each cycle, carrying debris, leaving fresh sand tomorrow's possibilities. 5 years systematic exploitation ended. Not anger revenge, but systematic preparation. Legal process. Simple recognition kindness requires wisdom. Daniel make payments. Rebuild life honest work. Hopefully learn relationships require reciprocity, not manipulation. I enjoy earned retirement. Welcome genuine kin visits. Maintain benevolent spirit, Sophia loved. Tempered boundaries making generosity sustainable. Justice served, peace restored. First time years. Look tomorrow, uncompromised hope. If you enjoyed this tale, please like this video, subscribe to the channel, and share your thoughts on this story in the comments. To hear the next tale, click the box on the left. Thank you for listening.